It's better to have direct communication with the customer so that you still have more tools at your disposal before they go ahead and start the dispute. Hi there, Kelsey Toner here, the founder of Guest Focused Tour Business Coaching, where every day myself and our team of talented and experienced tour business coaches are helping you build a thriving, profitable business. In this multi-part video series, we're going to be focusing on credit card disputes, something every tour and activity operator pretty much deals with at some point, and let's face it, it's not the best part of our day. The good news is that if you're using booking software, something that we highly recommend here at Guest Focus, then you are already going to have a key partner in managing these disputes and preventing them from happening. So in this series, firstly, let's just break down everything you need to know about credit card disputes. So when a customer files a credit card dispute, they're going directly to their bank to challenge a charge. Your booking software is then notified through their payment processor, and the funds are pulled from your booking software. Then the booking software usually alerts you through your dashboard, where they will also pull those funds from your account. Most booking platforms will follow a similar process. 1, you'll receive an email notification about the dispute. 2, your booking software will then create a dispute case inside of your dashboard. 3, they'll help collect and submit evidence on your behalf. And then finally, the funds are held in escrow during the review process by the bank. This process typically takes anywhere from 60 to 120 days to resolve, which can be up to 4 months where those funds are in limbo and not available to either the booking software or you as the operator. So something crucial to understand here is that you can already save a lot of time and reduce the number of headaches just by using that booking software. They're going to be a key partner in handling these disputes. Companies like Peak Pro, Fair Harbor, Checkfront, Resgo, Regiondo, etc. all have dedicated payment teams whose job it is to make your life a little bit easier. And they really are a partner with you in this, because if you lose that booking, well, many of them will also lose the revenue as well. So when you receive a dispute, here's some of the things that your booking software are going to be doing for you. They'll create that formal case file. They're going to help you gather the necessary evidence, a lot of which is already inside your booking software, right? We're going to have that ability to submit extra or additional documentation, including things like correspondence with the customer or emails that your booking software doesn't ultimately have, track the dispute status, and of course, handle those financial arrangements. So let's just contrast that with the scenario where you have to do all of that yourself. If you're just processing payments directly with a credit card processor, or maybe with an e-commerce plugin. So using a booking software is already setting you up for success. All right, now let's look at the 3 main types of disputes that booking platforms see in our industry. The first is product unacceptable disputes. This happens when customers claim the experience wasn't as described. Common examples might be weather impacts, like it rained during their hiking tour, or wildlife no-shows. No whales appeared during a whale watching tour. It could be equipment changes, how to use different boats or vehicles than advertised, route modifications, or maybe even the experience length. The second category is services canceled disputes. These are often related to cancellation policies, and they might occur when customers miss your cancellation window but still demand a refund, i.e. there's some confusion about that policy. Weather that causes you to cancel the tour, guest no-show and then later claim that they canceled, maybe group size changes that weren't properly communicated, customers claiming that they never received confirmation emails, or sometimes medical emergencies that might prevent the attendance. And the final category is unrecognized charges, which is surprisingly common and essentially happens when your business name might be different from your brand name on a credit card statement and it's not recognized. Maybe someone else in the family booked a tour, like a spouse using a different person's card, and that spouse ultimately doesn't recognize the charge. Maybe the booking was made months in advance and forgotten, or the customer doesn't recognize your payment processor's merchant name. Or lastly, multiple family members book different activities, but only one ultimately appeared on the statement. It's worth taking a beat here to introduce 2 pieces of terminology that are used by credit card companies, and that's true fraud and friendly fraud. So true fraud is when someone is actually using credit card information, deliberately making unauthorized purchases, right? This is criminal fraud with malicious intent. And many disputes can arise from that. If the legitimate card holder then sees charges that they don't recognize, they can dispute them. But the broader category here is friendly fraud. And this is when a legitimate card holder makes a purchase, but then ultimately disputes it for a wide variety of reasons that we just went through. While some friendly fraud can be ethically questionable, like someone deliberately disputing what is ultimately a legitimate charge, or they legitimately came on your tour and then ultimately disputed it. Keep in mind that many cases, in fact, most cases arise from genuine confusion or misunderstanding. All this to say, we don't want to rush to conclusions or make assumptions that every time we see a credit card dispute that we are either the victim of this true fraud or that it's friendly fraud, but it's somebody just trying to take advantage of us. There are many ways that we can solve this problem that is outside of the actual credit card dispute process. So now let's get back to that dispute process. You'll typically not just get a notification in your dashboard, but your booking software will typically send you an email with the disputed booking details, typically a form of some kind to fill out, a deadline that is pretty much set by the bank and then communicated to the booking software company, and instructions for those next steps. Time is critical here because we typically only have about 7 to 10 days to respond, which means essentially 7 to 10 days to provide evidence for your side of the dispute. In many cases, your booking software has streamlined this process, but let's look at the details. So you've heard me use this term evidence a few times, but let's dive a little bit deeper into evidence collection and what type of evidence packet we're typically submitting to the bank. Well, a lot of this is compiled by your booking software, but it includes detailed booking information. When this happened, what time of day, what was the nature of the product, what is the customer contact details, your cancellation policy is part of this evidence packet, any confirmation emails that were sent, reminder emails, any check-in records, potentially digital waivers. If that is built into your booking software, then great. If that's outside, well, that can certainly be submitted as evidence as well. Hey, they signed our digital waiver either ahead of time or right here when they were with us. Any customer communication back and forth, or potentially even chat message dialogues, photos, documentation of the experience, or proof of service delivery. You may have heard of some operators who have a physical location, even using the CCTV cameras or having photographic evidence of these guests being on premise or engaging in the activity. This can all be submitted, but keep in mind, at least the time of recording, video and audio recordings typically are not acceptable formats to be submitted to the banks at this time. Okay, here are some additional frequently asked questions that we get from newer or potentially operators who haven't experienced a lot of credit card disputes. Here are some responses from our more experienced coaches and operators. How long does a dispute ultimately take? Well, even in best case scenarios, like when your customer withdraws the dispute, maybe you have great evidence, the process almost always still takes that 3 to 4 months or up to 90 days in most cases. Another question, my customer has dropped the dispute. Is it over? No, you do still need to go through the full process, including submitting that evidence packet. The evidence packet should include a written confirmation from that customer that they've withdrawn the dispute, but even with that written evidence, it doesn't end. It's still gonna be those 90 days. Can I issue a partial refund or a refund on a disputed booking? Most of the time, the answer here again is no, you cannot. You can, as soon as that dispute happens, the funds are pulled into escrow, so you no longer have the ability to quickly refund the customer if you want to make this situation go away. That's why in almost all cases, it's better to have direct communication with the customer so that you still have more tools at your disposal before they go ahead and start the dispute. Another great question, what if I've already refunded the booking, but then they've disputed it? What happens in that scenario? Well, this happens more often than you might think. Your booking software can help provide that additional evidence in the packet that you submit where you can show that you've already issued that refund. That's some pretty important evidence. What happens to my funds during a dispute? Well, basically there's a chain reaction. Let's have a look. First, the customer's bank holds the funds from your booking software's account, and your booking software holds that same amount from your account. These funds are not given directly to the customer, but they're actually held in escrow until the dispute is resolved, which again can take up to 90 days before the customer themselves will even see some of that money. Key theme here is the 90-day timeline is consistent across almost all dispute scenarios, regardless of the circumstances or the evidence quality. So as you can see, the real costs of credit card disputes tend to compound pretty quickly. Not only do you have the loss of access to those funds for potentially 3 to 4 months, there's a pretty high likelihood that you might ultimately lose that dispute where that money is lost. There might be additional processing fees, either from the booking software or chargeback fees from the bank itself. But most importantly, of course, is that time, energy, and effort that goes into potentially reaching out to that customer, figuring out what happened, putting together that evidence packet. That's why prevention is really the best practice. And that's going to be the subject of our next video. Coming up, we'll be diving into the specific prevention strategies that you should be implementing in your tour, activity, or experience business. We're going to share some best practices from our coaches, as well as the full feature set that is existing inside of your booking software that you may not yet be using or that you may not know exist. We hope you got some value from this video. If you know someone that might find this series on credit card disputes useful, it would mean the world to me if you shared it with them. In the comments down below, we'd love to hear your experiences or best practices to help some of the other operators here in our community. Thanks so much for being here, and we'll see you in the next video.